of coffee with a couple of those. Coffee with a couple of those. Little delay there. In case one of us goes off on a rant, they can shut us up.
I always go last. Commissioner Engler, can you turn your video?
Do I have to?
Yes.
At 3:59. I have four. I'd like to call the work session of the Isabella County Board of Commissioners to order. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hutchinson,
Here.
Commissioner Engler,
Here.
Commissioner Jagodzinski, Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Swaney, Commissioner Hope, Commissioner Horton. All present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Up next would be approval of the agenda. We will start out with general public comments. We have no presentations and special reports, no appointments to boards and commissions. Committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee,
The Finance and Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
and Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee,
The Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
and Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
The Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Brings us down to Intergovernmental Affairs. Commissioner Marino, do we have any intergovernmental affairs this evening?
Not at this time.
Thank you. We have no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business, we're going to consider rescheduling the December 20th work session and regular sessions. And then there will be another opportunity for general public comment towards the end of the meeting, announcements, and then we'll go into closed session for collective bargaining strategy. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda. Horton.
Support. Marino.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Brings us to general public comments. Anyone for general public comments? I see no one running to the podium. And there's no one online. Well, we'll keep moving right along then. We have no presentations and special reports, no appointments to boards and commissions. We'll get started with committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, consider ratifying and placing on file the November 11th, 2022 invoice list, in the amount of $175,131.78. The November 18th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $217,098.32. The November 25th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $87,154.38. And the adjustment list dated December 1st, 2022. As commissioners, we received all these by email to review weekly. We reviewed them in committee, found really nothing out of the ordinary. Everything was normal course of business. And the adjustment list dated December 1st, 2022, basically is from, or most of it is for early pay discounts and everything. So nothing out of the ordinary course of business in any of these invoice lists. Commissioners, anything you found? All right, hearing and seeing none, Mr. Chairman, that will move forward to this tonight's evening meeting.
Second item of business is consider approving the Net Source One quote in the amount of $15,684.50 for the replacement of the Republic. I use these fancy names. Backup server and authorize the board chair to sign the agreement and budget amendment number 2023-02. Michelle, please take over. How do you pronounce that? Replicate. I'll probably mess it up again, but go ahead, please.
It's asking, server backup software, it backs up, criminal justice data, as well as, BSNA data, and current data. And it puts it through a, box in my office, a server, and then it also looks for the files, so it's, done then. You're gonna do it again, and backup and private, what I have here, and it's very important, I do want to plug it in. That we were looking on space on it. It is going to be replaced, and I did get a commitment from the court to pay $5,000 on it. You know, that commitment and POA to notify because their server's going to be going into backup system. And then the rest, we put in leftover money from ARPA money, and
I have one question. As I was reading the background information, that paragraph, I found a little bit confusing. With this upgrade now with the new server, all county functions will be under that particular program.
So a lot of the important data is just to be put on the tape, because then we have our court reporting to put on there, and with the new server, I won't have to put them off and put them on a different backup unit. The course that has to be saved in the machine. So in the room, I had backing it off, and I wanted to use these out.
Other questions or comments?
Real quick, so we are then, I know we had discussions in regards to this, we're doing a budget amendment, then using the unused ARPA dollars that you were assigned, or your IT was assigned, is using 560-84-50 and using that for what we're for the, yep, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Nicole?
I would just comment, just for the sake of those out here who weren't privy to this, maybe in the committee, that of the ARPA dollars that were budgeted to use towards IT projects, including the Duo multi-factor authentication project, a different server project, and the email exchange, almost $67,000 was approved by this board of ARPA dollars to be used towards those IT projects. In actuality, Michelle spent just over $56,000. So there's almost $11,000 of savings. And that's what she's talking about. So I just wanted to be clear, when she said unused ARPA funds that this board has already said can go to IT, but she saved the money on that. And so otherwise, if it was a new ARPA request, we would want to move that back through the ARPA work group and stuff. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Anybody else? I think it's a good to have the additional server and have that everybody being able to have that backup. I know I had a personal experience and probably wasn't a catastrophic one, but I lost a lot of data when I was with Clinton County, and they were able to recapture that from the servers. So, I mean, just stupid errors. The servers do help a lot. So we'll move this on then to tonight's meeting.
All right, next up, consider adopting the recommended language revisions to policy 101. Isabella County Personnel Manual for non-represented employees, section H. Paid time off or PTO and take effect immediately upon adoption. Nicole, you want to handle this or you want me to,
I'm happy to.
go ahead and then I'll just supplement, suggest and support. So.
That sounds fantastic. So I had originally back in September brought to the Finance Committee some changes to the PTO policy, mostly because there's a clause in there that says if you don't use half of what you earn in paid time off for non-represented employees in a year, then you basically forfeit those hours. Well, as a practice, we had never analyzed that, and no one, to my knowledge, really lost those hours in terms of if you don't use half, you lose it. So because we weren't accounting for that in any way in admin or analyzing that in any way, I thought, well, I'll bring you the policy and I'll just strike that sentence. But it caused a lot of other concerns to just strike that sentence. We had some good conversations in committee back in September when it first came up, and basically you said, Nicole, do better. We talked about the amount of time being able to carry over into a new calendar year, 225.5 hours. And we talked about what employees can use that for: paid time off, it's vacation, it's sick, it's personal, it's all of the above. But one of the commissioners asked, is that enough to cover someone while they're on 6 months short-term disability? And essentially we found out it wasn't, that the 225 was not enough. They do need a bank of more hours to satisfy a 6 months short-term disability to get them to 100% of their salary. So I had redrafted another policy, put in that the cap would be 260 that you could carry over, and made some other changes and took it to the department meeting, which I hadn't done with the first policy change. And if I had, maybe we'd come up with a better result. But really good information, really good discussion at department meeting. One of the big changes in this draft that we've gone back to that 225.5 because it really opened Pandora's box, if you will, to change that carryover cap. And then do we keep the same payouts and all that? So we're keeping the what you can accumulate and carry over the same, keeping the payouts the same. But what this does is creates a personal wellness bank. So instead of forfeiting hours, employees can put hours up to 37.5 hours a year into this bank that can be used for diagnosed illness, right? If you're being seen by a treating physician, going on short-term would be a perfect use of this time if you want to use it for those first 2 weeks that you have to take care of before short-term kicks in. That would be a good use of this time. We also added in here that the hours could be donated. That was a suggestion from a department head. Why couldn't these be donated like our other PTO hours? So that is in this version. We also move the payout of PTO hours in this revision to October after the January payout in 2023. So budget wise, it doesn't make any difference in a fiscal year, whether we pay it out in October or January. We use that prior year's salary to pay it out. So budget wise, it really doesn't matter as far as the payout. As far as payroll and benefits, it matters a lot because end of year, beginning of year is a very busy time for payroll benefits. If we could move the PTO payout to October, that gives one less duty to do at that year end. So payroll and benefits is on top of that, or is in support of that. So this would mean a payout like traditional in January of 2023 and then move to another one in October with the new fiscal year. I do want to point out, remember at budget time, we talked about moving the COLA back to October. This does not accomplish that. COLA increases are still in January. That is a budgetary impact, right? If we moved an increase from January to October, there's another quarter of that increase in your budget. So we know that it's going to cost money to do that when we make that move. But I just bring that up again because that was talked about in this, this PTO policy change discussion. That was kind of brought up back again. And what we had talked about at budget time is if we end the year in a positive fashion, then maybe we can revisit that. And things are looking positive for fiscal 22 at this point. But I just, not that that's included in here, but I wanted to make sure that conversation still remained on the table. The biggest thing probably that we've built in here is a nice way to honor some longevity with the county. If you think about some of the things that we've put in place recently, it really hasn't served to honor longevity. And so there is a piece in this policy rewrite that at separation, if you've been with us for 5 years, you can have 25% of the balance that's in your personal wellness bank. And it escalates from there. If you have 10 years of service, you have 50%, 15 years of service, 75%, 20 years of service. When you exit, you can have your bank payout. That was kind of a nice way to build in some longevity. It's not easy to build these hours up, and you do have to have some longevity to be able to do that. But this is just a way maybe to honor that. I know I stole your thunder, Commissioner, and you were going to say all of that, and I apologize, but if there's anything else that you want to add or questions that you have.
No, as we discussed in committee, I think it's important to recognize that the PTO, this back in the old human resources days, you always looked at, well, I get 1 week vacation, I get 2 week vacation, I get 3 weeks, and I may have 3 sick days. Well, those days are pretty much gone now. That's all based off PTO time. And I think this also accounts for not having with the personal wellness time, you can bank it and not necessarily if you have a sick day or have sick days or something, you don't necessarily have to use your PTO time for that. You can have this banked. And I think that's a good feature to have. It's a good retention program. It's really, I don't want to say passive investment on the county for the benefit of their employees, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah.
So again, anytime you want to do, we talk about continuous years of service, and more as we evolve in our society, I think you want to retain your employees. The turnover rate, while you can, a 30-year employee leaves and a new one starts up, you look at that, well, we save so much per dollar per hour or whatever, but the time involved and the experience lost is while you can't really put a dollar figure on it, it hurts the county. So we want to try to retain it. And I think something like this is a good idea. It shows that, again, this is something that can be tweaked down the road. It recognizes, I think we also did you give a list or maybe in future, what other, I know this is just for some of the employees, not some of the collective bargaining, what they're doing. Oh, okay. Did we get to that?
Thank you for that lead-in, Commissioner.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
committee, the question was asked, how does this compare to other groups in the county, other employee groups? And what kind of benefits do they get? So I did hand out a very, very voluminous spreadsheet to you all where through the years, we've tried to keep track of this, what each group has. And traditionally those unions, some of our unions have stayed with the personal sick vacation time versus moving to PTO. And we can talk about why that might be. But I wanted you to have the comparison of these benefits. And I understand Mrs. Latowski, our payroll and benefits administrator, went to great lengths last night to update this, because when I said I'm passing this out, she said, oh, I've got a lot of updates to make to that. And So she wanted to make sure what the information you had was correct, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think it's, like I said,
Great
it's,
question.
it's important to have a good system in place for the employees as far as that goes. And I think this is another example of Isabella County trying to do what's best for the employees. I really do. So, commissioners, anything else to add with us? Commissioner Hope?
Just a comment. I agree completely with everything Vice Chairman Horton said. The wellness bank is a great idea. And the payout for it is a nice, and maybe it'll be a nice recruitment tool. I think it will. I also like the fact that you took this to the department head meeting. And we got some good feedback out of that and came up with a better policy. So that's a great practice. That's it.
Okay, any further questions or comments from commissioners? Hearing and seeing none, then Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, gentlemen. Brings us to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
All right, first item up. Consider approving the request to hire an Isabella County Deputy County Clerk at the non-union employee wage scale pay grade 7, step 2 years in the amount of $16.97 per hour, and authorize the board chair to sign a budget amendment number 2023-03. Did you want to comment on?
Basically the same boat I was a year ago, an outstanding candidate.
Her experience and knowledge and everything was impeccable, and Saginaw Township ended up taking her away, which is good for her. She doubled her pay and we're very happy for her. But again, we've been going through applications now forever. But we were greatly amazed to find someone who's got 25 years of experience at the tribe. She's just looking for something new. She does have training when it comes to fingerprinting and CPLs, and she really fits in that spot really well, so I don't have to do as much training again. But of course, the pay was a little lower than what she had expected, and if we can get it up to where what I'm requesting, then she'll be able to hop aboard and hopefully stay for 25 years.
All right, thank you, County Clerk Lux. Are there any questions about moving to a higher pay grade? Oh, see none, we'll move this on to tonight's. All right, second item, consider approving the request to hire an Isabella County Emergency Management Coordinator at the non-union employee wage scale pay grade 10, step 5 years in the amount of $25.29 per hour. Director Marcus Griffiths here to ask for this request.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, I have a candidate for the emergency management position. Highly qualified. I've known personally for years, worked on emergency plans and emergency exercises. So an unusual candidate, to say the least, that would come into our emergency management fold. The request is to be able to start them up to the step 5 that we have, or year 5 pay scale on there, to try and make them an offer. I know they will be having to take a significant pay cut to come to our county. I have advertised all of our benefits, and just like you're doing tonight, where you're trying to improve the recruitment tools, I greatly appreciate that. So consumer with their experience that they have, I'd like to be able to offer this person to come in at the top scale to try and recruit them. I'm hopeful is the best way to put it, that they'll accept the job even at that. So if there's any questions.
Got a question,
Commissioner-
just doing the math on this. Is this a 35-hour week position?
No, this one's considered at a 40 is where it's been before. So
Because I always had, or maybe I'm doing my math wrong, and I probably am. I always had it like $2,200 per hour. No.
wish that was it.
No.
I wouldn't have
20
left that.
2,000, roughly it's 2,200, roughly it's $2,200 per dollar an hour in wage. That's why I was just questioning that little rule of thumb. on a 40-hour work week, but maybe that's why I was wondering if it was a 35, based on your breakdown of, for 25-29. I guess I could get a calculator out and figure that out. Getting 49,319. Now it looks like more of a 35 or 38-hour work week versus maybe a 37.5-hour work week.
That might be where the scale was put at, but I did review the numbers with our.
Okay, so yeah,
To make sure we could.
no,
afford this
because at
position.
25,
Yeah.
I'll do the math for the evening meeting. I'm not gonna pull out a calculator now, but 'cause I don't want my phone to go back to ring and Angler get a free dinner out of this. So, yeah, it's just, I just want to make sure because, that it just doesn't, okay, whatever. So that was it. And I approve, I mean, I kind of know who this person is, very well qualified, and getting this person at that rate is a kudos for the county. So,
It's huge if they will
yeah.
come our way.
So
It really is.
that's it for me.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely, need to, keep hiring and, do everything we can, keep personnel coming, filling these positions for both positions. All right. Are there any other questions? Oh, seeing none, we'll move this forward. Thank you.
Okay, next up is consider approving the Core Technology Corporation CAD project quotation order form Core 00001857, pursuing the first option in the amount of $331,982.50, and authorized board chair to sign the same. We have our sheriff has joined us on here. If you guys would, I think in committee, we approved the project, but there were some questions on the funding, and if you guys want to go through the project first, and then we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. So first time in my history coming before you commissioners, where this has kind of evolved really quickly. Went to Criminal Justice Committee. You have the staff report in front of you from at that point in time when it was submitted and turned in. And at that point in time, we had two options that we were looking at in a contract, and basically the option number one came in at $331,982.50. Again, as we all say, budgets are your best guess and stuff. And rather than guessing really high, I conservatively budgeted 300,000 and at 331,982. And we have over 2 years to pay that, which means we also have another budget cycle that I could budget the extra 31,000 that it would take to make option one happen over that year. So there's funds in the 911 balance to be able to accomplish that as it goes forward. At the time when the staff report was prepared and presented to Criminal Justice Committee, we had talked about previous concerns about the purchase and having to break up the payments and stuff if necessary to ensure our interests and safety in this agreement. Legals reviewed the agreement. They have no problems with the agreement as stated in the contract. But there was an option to go into a 3-year commitment, which would increase with a finance charge. And the finance charge, I was asked question to go find out what the rate was at Criminal Justice. But then also, which again, I've never met a commissioner who doesn't want to save the taxpayer money, and at Criminal Justice, they both asked me, are you sure that's the best we could do? Finance amount, and I also said, give me your final option. Is there any way to save any more pennies? Because we've worked on this project overall with the sheriff for many months. And they said, give us a chance to put our pen to pencil or pen to paper. And as you look onto the next pages in the staff report, you'll see the answer. Number one being the clarification of the 8%. Number two being a way to save almost an additional $20,000 on the total part of the project. They would require the upfront payment for the full amount. The full amount of the project would be $355,000 and a little bit of change. I can get you the exact number in a second. But the difference for it actually going up is there was 250 hours of development hours, customized development to make sure our CAD interfaces with all the police, fire, EMS as needed by our determination. And rather than paying $250 an hour for those development hours, we'll get it at a discounted rate of $180 an hour. So as you'll see in there, it talks about significant savings of over 45,000. We're able to offer another 6% discount when we came back. So that's why you have this additional document that we found on your table today as you came forward. So there's actually another option that's different than what you have for the recommendation. And so the recommendation could read, if you chose it, to actually go forward and fund the entire project upfront, saving the most money as possible by also purchasing the hours we have. And I've also checked with the sheriff who's here with me in case we have some questions, because he also knows what the other police departments and prosecutor's office are doing. Can speak to our networking and connectivity, and we're trying to make sure the tribe's included in everything as we go forward. But we agree that those 250 hours will be used. And we've seen it in the customization when we tried to customize our current project with one little thing between our current CAD and the sheriff's department. The vendor told us it was going to be well over $10,000. So I'm confident that $250 will be well spent and we'll use it all up. But Sheriff, do you want to talk about the network that we're trying to create and the people who'll be involved?
So the system currently is the sister product to what our records management system is. The city of Mount Pleasant and CMU have signed on that they're going to move to that platform as well. And there is some increased interest right now that tribal police are looking at the same platform of dispatch, the TAC 10 program, and that records management. So theoretically, it would put us all, including the Shepherd who's already on it, and the city of Clare, who has some property obviously in Isabella County. So that would put us all on there outside of the state police, which they have their own sole source product that they use. So that would be a great tie-in. The CAD system funnels direct, clean, good data to our RMS systems, names, vehicles, locations, times, CAD notes, etc. It also has the ability that each and every person who signs into that Talon client software will have the dispatching information, no matter if they're in the office working on reports, they'll see the calls pending and holding. That'll all put it all in one big pie together. We started the process with David Barberry's office a couple weeks ago in regards to the Carpel software, which they went to a year or so ago. This system, we're going to start beta testing hopefully soon with our office. When our reports are done, it'll automatically get sent to the Park Carpel system and automatically upload. So it's clean, good data right from cradle to grave, basically. So we're excited about that. And there's a good audit trail and tracking of the reports coming in. They just look at it and said, yep, we'll take it. Puts all the names, information, all the data that they need right into their system. So at the end of the day, we're hoping to have a really good, clean, reliable system.
And this overall will save hours of officers' times, prosecutors, everybody involved, records management looking it up. So therefore it saves all of us money. Less time looking in 2 and 3 different computer systems and typing stuff. Hopefully we can blend it all together as it goes forward. So again, I apologize. I didn't know we could get more money. I was asked to go see if we could get more money off, and there's your offer. The offer is to pay it all up. That's not what your recommendation comes. You'd have to talk about altering that, just to be very clear. Either one ends up with the product in my shop and we can move forward. So that's great. One is just, do you want to try and save almost another 20 grand as we go forwards? Are there any questions?
Of course, there's a question. We just got new information here. So this with the new cash option, and that was one of the options that we didn't have before. You guys went back and asked, can we get a deal if we paid cash? And then we wanted to see what the interest rate was. So that was some of the information we got back in there. But in the original one, we get 11.1 hours credit. Is that, I would assume that's still, regardless of what options, because that's about a $2,000 value there. So I would imagine, I didn't have time to look through there, but I imagine that's still in there, correct?
I would assume that is. I have to double check right now.
I looked for it. I couldn't find it, but you probably know, or I would imagine, because it's a kind of a credit. So I wanted to make sure that was still in there. Like I said, when we left the committee, we really hadn't we approved the concept and the going ahead with the project. We just weren't sure how we were going to pay for it. So we had to get a little more information. So I guess that's what we need to discuss, is how you want to pay for it. If you want to do the cash option upfront, or the other one is the option 2, where I believe the third payment is the only one that's get interest on it. And you know, you could take that and maybe try to negotiate later on or something, but like I said, we talked about the budget, I didn't know if it was, we have to have a budget resolution or most of the money is covered in the project, but that's only a other thing that we really hadn't really discussed yet, so.
We should have, all right.
go
We
ahead.
should have a budget amendment with it, although we can do a budget amendment after the fact. I can sit here and say there's fund balance in the 911 fund to be able to afford a one-time upfront payment if the board should choose to do so.
And the credit is in there. I just checked.
Okay, and they did give you an extra 3% on the last, since we talked. And so I guess I'll take some questions, or what you guys think. Personally, we think we can afford, I would rather take the cash option, and the only other option was if something goes wrong, they've already been paid in full, but that's always an option, but I think that most reputable companies, and I guess we do have a lawyer on here, so he.
No, I mean, no, whatever they recommend is the best. I mean, cash versus whatever, I mean, whatever. I mean, we're gonna pay if it's cash, we have the money, so.
We have the money.
Yeah.
There's a saving, you know.
Oh,
Is there an expiration date for the 250 hours?
I don't know on the date. Let me double check. I thought that was until
2020.
used.
Has to be used up by 2024 or?
No, because this contract will go over 2 years, so we'll also be probably, if we do any change orders, doing it to add the little parts to connectivity, use it at that point. I apologize, I'm not 100% familiar back to back on where it would be at in this contract, but I can make sure it happens before.
I can tell you with this company, you know, and it's Core is their sister product, and this is, you know, global. They're all under that auspice. They are really good about like, hey, this is a good idea, and then they look at it and then they implement it. So I would think that the hours would get used for sure. Been good for us. We've had lots of conversations with them about things that we needed to advance, and they done it for us. So I'm sure there'll be things on this big project that we'll want to tweak and change. And
I don't see it on the grand total part of the quote, Commissioner, but I could probably get something fairly.
I did find it in the contract.
So we paid the cash up front. Can we do it like in a debit back to central dispatch, recapture the amount for next year? For the next fiscal year? Are you saying they have the money? Because it says they have 300,000 towards that amount right now.
Well, we're talking two different things, cash and budget, right? So budget will need a budget amendment because they only have 300,000 budgeted, yes, but they have the cash in the fund balance. Thank you for the distinction. That is
Thank you.
important. And if it's an exhibit A, milestone payment schedule. This is item 3, and it talks about because both parties acknowledge that some additional development will be required throughout the implementation. Core is offering a discounted service rate of $180 an hour instead of $250 an hour on future development work to be used anytime for December 31, 2024. For a maximum of 250 hours of work.
Okay.
That answer your question, Commissioner?
Can I go back and ask a question of the county administrator controller real quick? I just pulled out the calculator, I risked it.
Oh, you're going back though.
Yeah. My question is that based off 2 of them, the dollar amounts quoted at $25.29 an hour times 40 hours times 52 is 52,603. The 49,315 is reached based on 37.5 work hours. So it depends on, is it an 8-hour workday with a half-hour unpaid lunch? Or you would almost have to be scheduled, 42.5 hours scheduled And with half hour off paid lunch to get 40 hours, which would necessitate going from 49,315 to 52,603.
So for those who took a minute to follow, we've backed up on the agenda to the prior. But you're right, and I've just been communicating with staff. The,
Because if the employee's coming in thinking they're going to get 40 hours paid, then their salary needs to be 52,603.
yes, and so I will talk to Mark, after the meeting, I guess it was my thought about the hourly wage, but in the math that we have, looking at the math, it is a 37.5 hour position. I realize, Mark, that you said you are a 40-hour position,
Right.
and you have been. My guess is that came when you combined emergency management and 911. So on the books, yep,
Sorry.
on the books, emergency management coordinator is a 37.5 hour position, just based on the math that I'm seeing. And why we needed no budget amendment for it, because that position's been vacant now. It essentially will be vacant the first quarter. So that's the savings we were going to use for the increase. And the math that I am seeing, Commissioner Horton is right, it's 37.5 hours. So
And
you can communicate the hourly, but make sure you're communicating the hours.
also too, since we're going backwards, now I can jump forwards to the next one.
Yes, thanks for the roadmap though.
On the next one, Mr. Borton comes in front, the same thing. 18.09 hours. Looks like that's going to be based off of 37.5 work week also.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct.
All right, not a 40-hour work week.
Correct.
Okay.
Mark is the only anomaly in that regard in this discussion. Our bailiffs also were.
Because it threw off my 2,200 per dollar thing, and that was messing with me, so I had to do the math on that one, because that's how I.
We want you fully
you
engaged,
know.
so I'm glad you got through that.
Okay.
Thank you. It's an important distinction, especially Mark, if you're talking to your candidate tonight.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Commissioner.
Oh, yes. I went back and forth and all around. There we go.
Confused, we like to go back. to
I'm
where we're at.
I'm putting myself on red now.
Okay, so basically right now, as this is presented, it's a little confusing, so I want you to understand. The option number one would be the 8%, so with the new option, it would be number two, so. If we need a different, I'd like to kind of get an idea where everybody's leaning, so we would have to come forward with a new resolution. This one would not be. Well, unless everybody agrees on this one, because the way this reads, option one. It's a little confusing the way we got here with the new information, so I just want to make sure everybody's clear. Option one would be basically would be taking the split payments. With the last one being the 8% interest on there. So we really didn't have the option earlier, which would be the cash option, which would be the 6% savings and on there. So I just wanted you guys to understand that this is a little confusing, and if we were to approve as presented, we would be going with the first payment option with the interest rate.
If the money is there in the 911 account, I don't see why we wouldn't save $20,000 and go with the cash. I understand that we'll have to make a budget resolution. But I don't see a problem with that.
I think that's the committee's
No,
recommendation. I'm not sure how you guys feel on that.
That's option two, right?
no.
Yes.
Oh, is option two the cash option?
Well, that's what confusing. That's why I had to say. Because when this is presented, it was, it really doesn't say that, so.
All right, let's just
I
get rid
corrected
of
that.
option.
Nicole? Okay, so
Yes, that's my understanding.
we have new information, which would be the cash option, which would be number two, so.
That would be in not the 331.
I just would ask a question, Administrator, is it simpler to edit the resolution to read something of approve the CAD project not to exceed $355,063.55?
I think that would,
That project. And then you guys are just done with it. You know what we're doing.
I agree. Get rid of the option numbers.
keep the payment option up to.
Yes,
Offer that amendment to the recommendation to be changed or however you do it and just say not to exceed the $355,063.55 and then we can take care of it.
I can concur with that. So it's very much. And you look well dressed today too, sir. There is there any more questions on that? So we'll make the necessary changes and move that forward to the tonight's business session. So with that, that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee. Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, good work. Brings us to Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is consider approving the request to hire an Isabella County driver roll-off curbside at the non-union employee wage scale pay grade 6, step 5 years in the amount of $18.09 per hour. We have Jake Gordon, our ICMRF director, here to give us the background. Hi, Jake.
Evening, everybody. As you can see, we have been lucky enough that we have a candidate is interested in the position. The starting wage at a level 6 is $14.64 an hour, and that is not something that they would be willing to accept. They, even though it's still a little bit of a cut in pay, the benefit packages, things like that does help us on that side of it to try and bring somebody in. If we're able to start them at $18.09 an hour. You can see that that's a yearly salary of $35,277.66. We had a driver leave is the reason that this position is open that had been here for almost 14 years. They left for a $5 an hour pay increase and a $10,000 sign-on bonus. So it's again, we're just going back to trying to be able to get people hired in. Average starting wage in this area is well over $20 an hour for a CDL truck driver. So that's the unfortunates of where we're at right now with trying to be able to bring people in anywhere within the county is that we're having to again look at wages and things of that nature to be able to try and entice people to accept positions. Obviously the thing from earlier this evening with the benefit package as far as the
PTO.
is that the policy change and that's all of those things are helping. What I'm asking for is to be able to start somebody at the top of the scale at a level 6. They're well aware of the fact that they are not going to have any pay increases coming other than anything that would be cost of living. At least it puts us in a position it will be back fully staffed as drivers.
Any commissioners have any questions or comments?
Just that this is the climate that we're in. I mean, it's a sad thing, but it's to keep people. This is so important. And this gentleman seems to be at that top scale. So definitely recommend it.
The big thing on this is that, this is a gentleman that he actually works for, he's a captain on Homer Township Fire Department. So, he understands the public side of things, in public service. So that's probably a huge help for us as well. So.
Okay, if there's no other comments or questions, this will be on our evening agenda. Thank you, Jake.
Here, another two item, consider approving the Isabel County Master Plan as adopted per resolution DC 22-01 by the Isabel County Planning Commission on November 10th of 2022 in accordance with the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. We have Tim Neoport here to give us information.
Good afternoon. This is the end of a year-long process for us, one of many we do. So a resolution back in December of 2005 by the county board The county asserted its authority to accept, reject, accept or reject, or accept and approve or reject the final approved master plan by the Planning Commission. So this last year, excuse me, the Planning Commission went through and updating the master plan. We came to you in June of this year with the distribution of the document. I went through those changes that were made. Most of them had to do with the demographic and census data information from 2020. We had a few map amendments in there, a few pictures and grammatical corrections that were made. At time of distribution, you authorized us to go ahead and distribute the document according to Planning Enabling Act, which requires us to send it out to all townships, cities, villages within our boundaries, and those directly adjacent to us, including the counties directly adjacent to us. That was done for the purpose of seeing what the other communities have within their planning efforts, and to make sure that there's some cohesiveness there. Provide us with feedback. It's a comment period for them. We did that in June. It was sent out. At our November Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. There was no public comment at the meeting, but we did bring forward to the Planning Commission 2 comments that were received during that distribution comment period. One of them was from Gratiot County. Gratiot County essentially said, nice document, works for us, you know, move forward. Lake Isabella provided us with a little more feedback. They had a couple areas of concern and a couple areas that, not of concern, a couple areas of issues they would like for us to implement into the document, of which we did that evening. One of those areas was their master land use, their existing land use map was not the same characteristic of ours. And so we went ahead and moved to attach that document as an attachment into our document. So their existing land use is within our plan now. The second thing was under the Planning Enabling Act, there is a requirement for us to discuss the location, proximity around the county for municipal water and sewer, and how water and sewer is kind of handled throughout the county. So we did add a section into the document under planning issues, which talks about the on-site systems that we have mostly throughout the county, which is the septic and well systems. And then we discussed any other municipal unit that has a system, for example, City of Pleasant, Union Township, the Village of Rosebush, the Village of Lake Isabella, the new system that went in Beale City for septic or for sewer. So we identified those areas within the document to comply with the Michigan Planning Enabling Act per the request of Lake Isabella. That evening, the Planning Commission unanimously voted by resolution to accept the plan and approve it. And therefore, I'm here in front of you today asking for you to accept that document that the Planning Commission approved.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I just want to say that Tim really went over this whole thing. And it's a thick book that he brought us, and the mapping, zoning, and where lines change, and want to thank him for working his team's work.
As you were reeling out the villages and townships that had their own sewer water, you missed the tribe. Did you? Is that just oversight?
Yeah, I think frankly it may have been an oversight. We don't typically plan for lands on you know, our planning documents don't incorporate lands from that aspect, although we do send them during the comment period. We probably did miss that in our yes. We did pick up, you know, the Village of Shepherd. Yeah, I know we missed them. Yeah, we did. We can what we can do with that is take it, let me check with legal counsel. Let me check with legal counsel, and if it's something that requires us to amend back to the Planning Commission, or if that's something that we can just add on at this point. I assume that the board would want that added in there. And we would go ahead and add that in there. I'm not sure in this process, this phase of the process, whether we have to take that back to the Planning Commission, but I will duly note that and make sure that we get that back to the legal and take a look at it. If it needs to go back to the planning commission to make that change, we'll make that change. Yep.
Any other questions? Then we'll wait for that information and move on.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, our next item is consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 2022-10, authorize the submittal of the Michigan Spark Grant application to support the Herrick Recreation Area Development Project and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have Sue Ann Kaufman, our Parks and Recreations Director, to give us the background on this. Hello.
This is a new grant that has come through in terms of for the Affordable Care Act. Sorry for the. Some of that would be done in 3 minutes, so I got to keep going here. The state received $65 million to go to local parks and recreation projects. This is pretty much shovel-ready projects to have done, and we are looking at improving Herrick Park. On the south side, they have a very old playground. I think it's like 3 pieces, little slide, swings, and a climbing bar, and all metal, and it really needs to be updated. For the 3 banner years that we've had at Coldwater for the camping, that's an important piece to have at the camping side for that park. I did change we had some numbers come in a little bit late. We were a little bit under 300,000 for this project, and this reflects a $319,000 project just because of some funding. It also includes not only a playground to make it more accessible, safer, and have updated equipment. We are also updating the bathhouse that is in we've done a lot of the in-house things of that, but it'll be really nice to have that upgraded, and the showers would be included in that, plus the outside of the building. And then we would also have a path go from the bathhouse to the playground, and then we have some pit toilets by the south part of the park, by the cabins. So we're excited about this. We do have it in our budget. This is a reimbursable project, meaning we will need to pay out what this cost, and then if approved, and then we just get reimbursed the actually it's 290,000, I think, and then we received, well, I'm not doing the math right, but $50,000 from the tribe, which we're very grateful that you guys reviewed that and that we got tribal funds to help with this project. It's a very easy DNR grant, so it's not like the others. So it'd be great if the resolution number 2022-10 was approved tonight. Grants due December 19th, and we'll find out if we get the grant in January. That's quick, and we can get started right away, but it won't be started until probably the fall when everything is said and done. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Just Director? Being here, we'll put this on our regular session tonight. Thank you.
Fourth item, consider approving the 2022 and 2023 snow removal service agreement 1, 2, 3, and 4. And with BOC Contracting LLC, and authorized board chair to sign the same. We have our facility director.
Hi.
Also, these are the snow bids that the county puts out every year, as we had before. I did a little something different this year, trying to get more contractors involved. I had split the 3 bids into 4. I had gotten with the city of Mount Pleasant and have an agreement with them that they will haul our snow piles away from us. My feeling was a lot of these smaller contractors with trucks and plows didn't put in for these because they didn't have the loader, they didn't have the truck. I went on to GIS, I put maps, I highlighted sidewalks, I let these vendors all know what was going to be expected. hoping to have a very good turnout, and there was 2 contractors that showed. One was deemed unresponsive and Bully Contracting was responsive. I thought about putting the request out again, trying to get more people involved, but by the time we went through the county's procurement process, we'd be deep into snow season. There was no way. As far as the financial impact, I mean, you can see the quotes or the contracts in front of you. Don't knowing how much it's going to snow, it's hard to tell how much the financial impact is going to be. Is there any questions?
This is who we used last year.
Pardon me?
This is who we used last year.
Was, yes. Yes.
It's the known that we've done business with them and questions?
Say just a comment, but this is who we've used before, and even though they were the only bidder, prices seem pretty reasonable.
Both vendors, contractors were very close in price. There wasn't much difference in the 2.
And they were already taking care of us for the earlier snow.
I've reached out to them. I received email from their secretary that the contracts are in the mail. They've been signed by Bullies and they're in the mail. We should see them, I'm hoping Friday.
I personally know this company and have done business with them for several years. No other questions? We'll move this forward to tonight's meeting.
That completes.
Thanks, Steve.
That completes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, commissioners. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business, this evening we'll consider rescheduling the December 20th, 2022 Isabella County Board of Commissioners work session start time to 3 p.m. and the regular meeting start time to 5 p.m. And the reason for doing that is we wanted to have a little holiday celebration and a little recognition of Vice Chairman Horton's service to this board. So we wanted to make sure we get out of here in time to do that. And we have a room reserved at Cheers already for that date. And we're planning on 6:30-ish.
Yes, we are.
For that?
6:30, yes.
Commissioners, spouses, significant others, what have you. So
Both.
Not both.
One of them.
one or the other. You should only have one or the other
Yes,
anyway,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir. It's good
Oh,
practice.
okay. All right, so I don't know if we want to have any discussion on that, if anybody has any thoughts on that, but
Oh, I guess a question. I'm just want to clear up when we're going to be at Cheers. You said 6:30 or?
6:30 is when we.
Okay. Thanks.
Hopefully it'll be a light agenda.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, thanks. That cleared it up.
and of course, we don't know what the agenda is going to look like yet. So
Sir,
we shall see.
hence the 6:30.
Right. So no other discussion. We'll consider that tonight. And we will move to general public comments. Anyone for general public comment? Michelle, is there anyone that's joined us online or? No one online and no one from the live audience rushing up to the front. So we'll move on to announcements. Commissioners, any announcements? Mr. Jazinski.
I did attend the Northern Michigan Counties Association this past week, and I thought I'd be able to bring the first bearer of news to what we heard from MAC, but apparently it's already out in the Township Bulletin and the MAC Bulletin, but I'll still repeat it here. The mental health privatization, the mental health bill defeated in the Senate twice. And so, I mean, could be resurrected, but with the number of, I think the House is only gonna meet one time, so it's very unlikely. And the major proponent, Representative Sharkey, was term limited, so he's off. But Mac feels that there's still some issues that need to be resolved, so in the new legislative calendar, they'll probably pick this up again, but it may not include the privatization. I trip over that word all the time. There was an effort to get a revenue sharing trust fund for counties because we're not in the Constitution for revenue sharing, and that went nowhere. So it's probably going to be brought up again by Mac in the next legislative session. And finally, this did pass in the Senate and it may pass in the House, but they were looking at moving the presidential primary from February to February, excuse me. So I think this was an effort to try to combine some major states in the Great Lakes region and try to be some of the more the first in the nation. I don't know what New Hampshire and Iowa would do with that, but we may have that change. It still has to pass the House, and that could be still in the lame duck session. That's it.
Yeah. Any other announcements? Commissioner Hutchinson.
Yeah, I'm on the 911 committee board and all I want to announce is this time of the year with mental health and there's another number out there, 988, which presses that and make sure it's in forefront, especially this time of the year with families gathering and some people being down on their luck. So just like to announce the 9.
Okay, any other announcements? Clerk Lux.
There's going to be a state and recount. Isabella County is involved in that along with Bay, Claire, Iasco, and Midland. They're going to take the 5 of us and they call us the Midland Pod. It will start tomorrow at 9 a.m. Due to the fact that Isabella County is involved in it, I just want to let you all know I did forward to you both of the recount petitions, so you can read them over in case you guys have any questions whatsoever. And it will be, excuse me, city court side, temporary Houston, 3 temporary and it can be after close of the for Isabella County. We have 7 workers in Isabella County that I have hired that are going to assist the state of Michigan. Our county campus report will be there tomorrow morning. Also, they are starting out with Isabella County and it will be located at the Homer Township Public Safety Building at 222 South Homer Road. And the last statewide alcohol was established in 1968.
Wow.
Going into this kind of, we'll see how it all goes, kind of blind right now, but it was called Common Paper by a private citizen. So it wasn't as if the state initiated this or anything like it. And then again, on December 12th, 13th, and 14th, I will be holding a hand recount open to the public. And that will be for Chippewa 1, Wide, Isabella Township, Union 2, Deerfield 1, and Coldwater. And again, that is just to show to the general public, the tabulators, to show them that the numbers are matching the tabulators. So we will be in, hopefully that will happen.
Hopefully, yeah, I appreciate you keeping us updated on that. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we will move on. Commissioner Sweeney, would you mind making that motion to move into closed session?
Motion reads, move closed session, consider entering into a closed session under section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss collective bargaining agreement strategy.
It's been moved and supported. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Yes.
Commissioner Marino?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Joe.
Yes.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you.
That was 3 seconds.